Back to the Philippines, we're taking you to a wedding like no other, we promise. Instead of flowers, the bride is carrying a bouquet of onions. She paid 8,000 Philippine pesos for this. That's almost 147 US dollars for one sack of onions. 5 kilos went into the bouquet. The rest were given to the wedding guests as souvenirs. I told you it's a wedding like no other. Needless to say, these images went viral. The wedding told the story of the food crisis in the Philippines. They're crying onion tears. Onions have become costlier than meat in this country. They're being compared to gold now. President Ferdinand Marcos Jr., who's also the country's agriculture minister, by the way, has described the surge in food prices as an emergency situation. But what is causing this emergency? Our next report finds out. A routine grocery run is burning a hole in the pockets of Filipinos. There's a shortage of daily food items like salt and sugar. Onions are so expensive that they're being smuggled into the country. Filipinos are paying 720 pesos, that is $13, for 1 kilo of onions. In April last year, this used to cost them just 60 pesos, a little more than $1. Onions have become more expensive than steak. The crisis has affected big companies too. Burger King says it is out of onions. Coca-Cola has had to suspend some operations because it cannot get enough sugar. According to the World Food Programme, 1 in 10 households in the Philippines is food insecure. The government is calling this an emergency. But what led to such a situation? A number of factors: typhoons, pest infestation, high fertilizer costs, fuel shortages. It's a long list. After Russia invaded Ukraine in February last year, prices of food, fuel and fertilizers jumped across the world. But the Philippines was particularly vulnerable. The government, though, is calling this an artificial shortage. It's accusing traders of hoarding food and charging exorbitant prices. The government says the Philippines produced a bumper onion crop last year. The output was more than 238,000 tons, the highest on record. The domestic market consumes about 20,000 tons a month. But it still wasn't enough. In mid-2022, when Ferdinand Marcos Jr. was president-elect, he took it upon himself to solve the country's food problem. He named himself the agriculture minister. Marcos took up a seemingly unglamorous job, but he was unable to bring inflation under control. This month, he issued permits to import onions. Even sugar will now be imported. But when you peel the onion of this crisis, you find China at the heart of it. The Chinese onion mafia. Sounds funny, but it's serious business. The Chinese are smuggling onions. The Customs Department recently seized red and white onions worth 2.8 million US dollars. They were brought in from China. It's a desperate situation. What is the government doing? They've promised to investigate the onion mafia. The president is also appointing a full-time agriculture secretary to deal with the crisis. For our viewers in India, this may be déjà vu. Onions have brought down governments here, and it may not play out very differently in the Philippines.